All right, hey people, Russ Jensen. So it's 2 p.m. on the 16th day of January 2017 here in beautiful Republic of Utah, out here in the dirt again. I was just over walking my dog at the river. Um, so I think a good way to illustrate some of these points that I've been trying to make to people about the importance of understanding who and what you are would be to talk a little bit about some of these tax issues. It's going to be that time of year. And at least my understandings of a few things. Now, like I said, uh, I'm not instructing, advising, helping anybody violate any of your known duties. And that's the importance of understanding who and what you are. Okay? Understanding the structure of your governance that you've consented to, right? The reality that you live in, how it works. Right? And it's that aspect, I think, that it causes more problems for us as individuals in society uh, because we don't take the time to really understand these things. You know? Don't make a true inquiry, an investigation, uh, take on our indispensable obligation under the rights of individuals to endeavor to know our Creator, to endeavor to understand our reality. That's a duty that we have, that we fail in most of the time. So we live here in a constitutional republic. Under that Constitution, Congress was created. Article 1, legislative power herein granted. Congress of the United States. Okay? Also, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, that group, Congress of the United States, was given exclusive legislative authority over the District of Columbia, 10 Mile Square, their forts, their needful buildings, places, and also given authority in uh, Article 4, ability to make rules and regulations for the territories and property of the United States. Right? That organization, not the United States, the people. Okay? And that's a misinterpretation, I think, that perhaps is at play here a little bit. We're going to probably be finding out in the next couple years as we continue on our inquiry into what's going on. Okay? But Congress has a dual capacity, dual roles that they have to play. They have to legislate for that area, their area, District of Columbia, their territories, their people. And then they also have a duty and obligation to legislate for the Union states. And there's been some rules established to help uh, differentiate between the two when they're legislating for the District of Columbia versus when they're legislating for the Union states. And one of those is that legislative acts that are written for the Union states, the sovereign authorities, the people walking around the dirt, must be published. Notice given of what the law is, what the legislative act is, the requirements, the regulations that govern it must be published in the Federal Register. You can verify that. That's USC 44. Also in Title 5, talk about the administrative process. Okay? So if it's not in the Federal Register, it doesn't apply to the general population out here in the states and republics, the people walking around the dirt, you, me. Unless we're not one of the people, one of the general population, we have a different designation. Okay? We're one of their people, perhaps. Okay? So that's what becomes critical to understand who and what you are. Are you one of the general population? Or are you one of the special class of persons that has a status attached to District of Columbia or through being officer, agent, employee, custodian, or have voluntarily consented to operate under the legislative authority of Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, and Article 4. Also very important to understand, too, that just because we have the ability to change our status, we need to. If I'm an employee of anywhere, government included, I'm still a private person, aren't I? I'm an employee for the purpose of employment, eh? And the terms of the contract that go along with that. It doesn't make me one of their people 24/7. No, it makes me an employee under the terms of contract. That's what you have to understand. Legislative acts are terms of the contract. Okay? That's why we have a duty to understand who and what we are and what applies to us in a particular situation. Okay? Now, Title 26 is the taxing provisions that Congress has legislated for the District of Columbia, their people, their territory. Okay? Why? Because it's not published in the Federal Register. Okay? Doesn't apply to the general population out here in the Union States of people walking around in the dirt, unless you happen to meet the terms and the conditions, the requirements that are then spelled out in Title 26. If those apply to you, you certainly do have a duty to pay whatever, the tax, whatever it is. If you're engaging in certain activities, yes, you do. You have to. Okay? Now, I'll talk about real quickly 16th Amendment. Everybody makes such a big to-do about it wasn't ratified properly. It doesn't really matter. And I think it's important to understand, make the statement here that Congress has the plenary authority, total and complete authority to reach every single living individual, sovereign authority walking around the dirt in the republics. They have that authority to write things that you have to obey. They do it through, but they have requirements, they have limits, they have parameters that has to be done within. And in the taxing provisions, their parameters were given to them at the same time that they were created in that document, known as the Article or the Constitution of the United States, 1787, 1789. They have total and complete taxing authority, predicated upon the conditions of direct tax with apportionment, and excises, duties imposed by must be uniform, same. So, question then becomes: is are they have they exercised that power, that authority? And even the 16th Amendment, what does it say? It talks about what? Income can be taxed regardless of the source, without regard to apportionment. Okay. So the next question that our inquiry should lead us to would be, maybe I should figure out what the definition of income is. And really only one authority we can go to that's the proper forum where this issue of a term of the contract has been litigated, has been adjudicated, has been decided by their Supreme Court, legislatively created inferior Supreme Court, the Judiciary Act of 1789. Now, when I say inferior, I don't mean that derogatory either. It's what they are. Okay? Are their decisions binding? Yeah. Okay? But anyways, okay? So, like I said, understanding of who and what you are, understanding who and what they are also is important. Okay? So, anyways, that's been determined. The definition of income has been decided. In fact, the last case that they looked at, that issue, they also stated that they will not revisit that issue ever again. It's been decided. The definition of income, according to those guys, is net proceeds from corporate activity. That's it. Now, there's also the argument as well, it's domestic corporation, has to be government corporation. That's nonsense that people bring forth. So then I guess the next question of inquiry should be, what's a corporate? What's a corporation? What is corporate activity? So we've had to look at the definition of a corporate or corporation, okay? Understand what that is. Okay? That's an organization on paper. Okay? You, as a living human being, sovereign authority walking around the dirt can never be a corporation. Ever. You're not words on paper, are you? Huh? Now, there's groups out there that claim they've converted you into a corporation, use of their social security numbers, their Federal Reserve notes. No, you can't be a corporation. That's why when you guys go into there with some of these arguments, they laugh at you because they know you don't even take the time to understand the definition of words that you're using. Hmm? Corporation is a collection of people that organize together, create an association, nation state. Not the same as for governance, but it's the same concepts. It's a jural society. It has its own rules, regulations, bylaws, okay? Laws within the corporation that must be obeyed and adhered to, aren't they? Terms of the contract, you work there. Okay? It's a separate entity of itself. Not organic, but it is an entity. It's a people's person, Citizens United. They determined that. They've done it for a long time. It's an entity, has certain rights, certain benefits, obligations, and duties. But it's the corporate collective that owes the tax, not you, because you work there. Your salary is considered an expense of the corporation. Now, what's net proceeds? Gross proceeds would be everything that comes in. The net proceeds is after what they deduct the expenses that are required to run the company. And there's a big long list of what those are, what's acceptable expenditures, and so on and so forth. That's what Title 26 is about. That's why it's so fucking complicated. It's for corporate activity, not you. Unless it applies to you in certain situations, but you can. So it's on corporate activity without regards to apportionment. The direct tax. They had to do that because what, you can't go do an apportionment on every fucking corporation in the state, can you? Anyways, that's my understanding. The only one that really makes sense if you start to understand how your government operates. Congress writes for two separate jurisdictions. There's District of Columbia and Territories and their people, employees, agents, officers, custodians. For those that voluntarily consent to be there, and also whether you naturalize people that come from other places on the planet, that whole process, okay? So, and then they legislate for the Union States, what applies out here in the dirt to you and me as a general population. So you figure out if you're in the general population for a specific instance, or if you're a special class of persons for that instance. Okay? That's why it's absolutely critical for you to start to understand who and what you are, what we're doing, what applies to you, what doesn't apply to you. Okay? Your W-4s that everybody signs, withholding agreements, you're entering into a contract, and part of the terms of that contract says that you are going to pay over a certain amount based on that schedule, whatever it is, the calculations they create, to that organization known as the United States or whoever it's going to. Okay? Contract. And your employer, is part of the contract he has with you in order for you to work there, says you must fill this out. That's the agreement I've entered into. It says I have to do that. Now, do they have to? No. Okay? But they have. Okay? Because they're uneducated also. Maybe they feel it's their duty to do that. I don't know. I can't say. Can't speak for anybody but myself. But so what's happening is you're creating a contractual agreement. You make the payments, and they're doing it. They claim, right? We're providing this mechanism through your employer withholding as a benefit to you to help you meet your obligation and duty that you've committed to us through terms of contract. We're facilitating that. We're helping you meet your duties. We're doing what we're supposed to do. That's what government does. Provides benefits. Okay? So later on, people start getting a little bit educated about some of these things, Social Security numbers, Federal Reserve notes, kind of the disconnect between what the terms of our contract, the Constitution says, and what's reality, what's going on. They get a whole lot of information, bad information, information that's not verified by them, okay? How it applies to them, really. And then they do what? Oh, gee, they lied to me about Social Security, what it is, they did. They lied to me about Federal Reserve notes and what it is in terms of condition, all that different stuff, okay? They frauded me, okay? Contracts null and void because they engage in fraud, all that stuff. Then they do what? Start making requests for refunds because there's a mechanism that they put in place, the Title 26, case of overpayment, okay? Mistakes get made. Okay? So they're taking advantage, using that benefit to do that. And the system that is collecting all that information, returns and all that stuff is so overwhelmed by the amount of information that they're having to deal with. A lot of those things flow through there, okay? And hey, the guy that's sitting in the processing center working for the IRS or whoever he's working for, a private contractor probably, he doesn't have the authority to question your information that you've sent in because you've signed it under penalty of perjury, haven't you? Okay? He has to honor your ability to contract. Your obligations in contract cannot be impaired by anybody ever, not even the government. Okay? So he has to honor that, send you the check. Okay? Although they do have a review process, and at some point, a lot of those get reviewed, and then they start asking these questions about, hey, wait a minute, this person appears to be in violation of the terms of our contract. Maybe we need to go have a conversation with them. So they end you a letter, do all these different things. It starts that whole process I'm going to get into. But that's the mechanism that's working. Right? People like Wesley Snipes and Rose and Peterson, all these guys, Erwin Schiff, have all these fantastic arguments that sound great on paper. Reading a book makes sense, okay? A number of things they haven't done properly, properly challenged, broken the nexus, claim they aren't who they say they are, not. They have violated terms of contract. Okay? That's why Wesley Snipes went to prison. It wasn't because he protested the tax, because he engaged in fraud and engaged in embezzlement through misuse of his authority to contract. With direct violation of terms of his contract he had that he signed. Okay, so that's why it's important to understand who and what you are and what's going on, what's operating upon you, what's the jurisdiction, what's the law, what's the authority spoken that's operating on you as an individual sovereign authority, a man, woman, in your circumstance you're operating in. The situation, what's going on, what are the elements? Okay? That's what we have to start understanding. So they have full and complete authority to tax. I don't tell anybody you don't have to pay tax. I say you need to understand if it applies to you. And if it applies to you, you got to pay it. If it doesn't apply to you, you don't have to pay it. Simple. Hey, if in your city where you live, the city council decides that if you want to have a barber shop in town, you have to get a license and pay a fee. If you're at home cutting your child's hair, and the neighbor calls in and says, hey, they're cutting the kid's hair next door, do you think they can come over and demand that license and a fee from you? No, they can't, because it applies in a certain situation to certain individuals that meet specific requirements and conditions. Okay? Your Constitution is a contract with certain requirements and conditions, and at the present time, from my perspective, it appears they have violated the terms of the contract. So now what I'm going to start doing, I'm going to send them a letter, okay? Make a request of them of some information to explain to me why it appears that way. IRS always does that for everybody, don't they? They send you a letter, give you a chance to explain. Well, they kind of do it in a way that's not really proper, but hey, they still give you an opportunity. And that's why it's important. You have to know this information because you're going to be the person that has to explain it. You've taken the action. You have to be responsible. You have to be able to explain it to your neighbors, explain it to your governance, why you did what you did. Well, on what authority were you operating? Okay? That's all I'm trying to teach people is how to start understanding what you are and what the relationships are between you, your other members of society, your governance. Okay? So that's what this is about. Okay, and that's one of the things I was talking with my son yesterday and his mother about some things on this project, and that was what he I guess helped bring me back to that understanding a little bit about we need to help people understand the relationships between them, their governance, them, the rules, the laws, okay, the other members of society. That's kind of what we really have to be focusing on, okay? With information, with knowledge that you can then verify for yourself, okay? And think about things. This is part of the process too, I believe, that your government is providing a benefit to you, forcing you to have to engage in inquiry, engage in questioning, engage in understanding, engage in expressing your authority properly. Right? Now, in fact, they have done a lot of things that appear to be egregious violations. It doesn't mean that they aren't providing us that benefit in order to understand better who and what we are. And by doing that, we understand better who and what our societies are. We understand better who and what our governance is, what it should be. And then we can start coming up with solutions to the problems that are facing humanity on this planet right now. Okay? Big ones. Yeah? And your people in government need our help. They need us to understand who and what we are. There are individuals in the judicial branch that are waiting for us to bring this information, these demands in the proper format so that they can then address what's going on. They don't have any authority to act until we give it to them. Okay? That's why this is so important. So important. I need people come help me. I don't understand everything. I'm going to be giving up links to a lot of places that I got information from, but the problem with a lot of those, there's so much there, and you got to be careful because a lot of it sounds great, but it's not really valid, okay? Or it's too much. Doesn't matter, okay? So, anyways, love everybody. I'll talk to you all later.